person to experience that type of injustice.
Housing and mental health. It seems like they're putting more funds into mental health for people who are over a certain age. And so that is, I think, getting somewhat better. At least the funds are there. I don't know about the programming
Mhm.
to help those who are coming out of prison. But housing, they have a lot of money, and no one knows how to make it simple or easier for those to access, whether you've been in prison or not. There are a lot of people who are living on the streets, going from couch to couch or friend's house, and the shelters are full. The shelters are sometimes not as pleasant or organized as they should be to help people. That is a big problem because they have all that money here.
Yeah. Well, one thing that a lot of people don't realize is there's actually more programs for people that are guilty and been paroled than there are for exonerees. Let's not forget that we're just a small subsection of society, a part of society that none of us asked to be a part of. However, there may be 5 exonerations in a year in the state of Michigan. When you compare that against 3,000 or whatever the number is, parolees, right? The resources are geared towards parolees. With the help of some very strong advocates over the last, 6 months to a year, we've been able to gain some of those resources. But there's still a process that takes place. People don't understand that even though you've been exonerated, that conviction is still on your record. That conviction, there's a process that takes months to have that conviction removed from your record. So even when you are trying to reintegrate into society, you're still being re-victimized. How do I explain to a landlord why this conviction is on my record?
Well, I don't know how you explain it, but there needs to be a program or something in place that when you walk out and you have that exoneration and it's in place, your record needs to be corrected when you get ready to walk out of there. Okay. Now, is that a starting point? Is that something that you are working on with your organization, the National Organization of Exonerees, or Reverend McKissick? Is that something that your urban initiative will work on?
We're really working on, I think that that's a great point and definitely something that's needed. We're really working on trying to bring together these resources because like you said, the resources exist.
Yes.
And so, as a minister, that's one of the things that I'm working with other churches and ministers and things to do, because our churches are very mission minded. And so in being able to see that this is a need, we're asking ourselves from our food pantries and our housing programs and things like that, what can we do to assist here? And so that's one of the reasons I'm really excited. Michelle McGregor is going to be co-hosting this event coming up. Yes.
We're going to come back. I'll talk to you again in a few minutes, but I want to go to the summit that's taking place on October the 23rd. It's the A Life for a Life Urban Initiative Innocence Summit taking place on Saturday, October the 23rd from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Facebook Live, hosted by, Miss McGregor, Michelle McGregor, and she has a lot of information.
Absolutely.
I know that she's going to share that information along with Dominique McBride.
Yes.
Okay. Now, please, Reverend McKissick, please tell us about the summit. This is your first summit?
Yes, this is the first summit. Prayerfully, it'll be an annual thing. We're really excited about it. It is a national event. We have representation on every end of the spectrum from all across the United States, and we're really excited about it. Michelle is just a gem and has a wealth of, like you said, knowledge and expertise specifically about those resources and connecting resources, and connecting exonerees to resources is a passion that we've been talking about. And so with her expertise in bridging the gap and poverty and trying to help supplement some of those things that are going on, she's going to be involved in helping to make those connections for our exonerees who are involved. So we're really excited about that.
Very good. Now, I want to thank you for inviting me to be a part of your program, but I am not available on the 23rd. I am so sorry, but please ask me again.
Absolutely.
I would love to join you for next year or any other program that you have with your initiative. Just please ask me again.
Yes,
thank
I will.
you so much for the invitation. you are honoring. You have 22 people who are going to be participating and presenting,
yes,
right?
Absolutely.
And then you have 4 honorees,
yes,
that are pastors and others from the community. Please tell us about that.
Absolutely. So our honorees this year are the clergy for prison reform out of Jackson, Mississippi, the Center for Wrongful Convictions in Chicago, Illinois, Tanya Roberson Ministries in Detroit, Michigan, and then we're honoring one individual, Professor Imran Syed. He is the co-director of the Michigan Innocence Clinic in Ann Arbor, Michigan. And so these people have done phenomenal work for decades with innocence and wrongful conviction, and we're so very honored to be able to take a minute and acknowledge them.
Our listening audience, some of them don't know what pastors really do, and ministers who go in to the system to visit with those who are incarcerated, talking to the families and the person that is incarcerated. Tell us about the work that they do and how important it is that you are recognizing them.
Absolutely. So, the church is a hospital, and prison ministry is an extension of the work that we do. And so when you go into the prison, understanding that trauma has taken place with the individuals that you're ministering to there, you're ministering to them. You're also ministering to their family, the people that they left behind. So it is extremely labor intensive. When you talk about discipleship and really walking alongside these individuals, Kenneth was just sharing about some of the mental health issues. You're trying to keep these people encouraged. You're trying to keep them sane. You're trying to, give them hope. And so it is a really, really important job. It's necessary work. And it's also work that you don't get a lot of recognition for. And so during Clergy Appreciation Month, how proud I am that we have the opportunity to acknowledge my brothers and my sisters in the field of ministry, to be able to say thank you for the work that you've been doing, again, for decades, to really help those who are incarcerated and their families.
Tell me about some of the topics and subjects that you're going to deal with, or the presenters will deal with, at the summit on October 23rd.
Absolutely. So it is the Innocence Summit. And again, our focus is advocating for those who've been wrongfully convicted. Some of these other organizations that are participating, their focus is not specifically innocence, but again, they are coming alongside us because we all agree that change needs to happen with our criminal justice system. And so we're excited to have Prison Fellowship who's going to be a part of the summit this year. If you are familiar with the Angel Tree program, that's through Prison Fellowship. That's when gifts are purchased at Christmas time for kids who have incarcerated parents so that they can receive a gift from their parent. A lot of churches are involved in that program. And so that's that organization that's behind that, as well as a wealth of other things that they do. And so they'll be sharing.
Are there churches here in Saginaw, ministers here in Saginaw, who are part of the program and that they have this type of ministry where they are assisting families?
As far as prison ministries in the program, I know that, I'm a member of Victorious Believers Ministries. We have a jail ministry. We do the Angel Tree program, every year. So we're a part of that. I know that my good friend, who's now a senior pastor in Bay City, but was obviously in Saginaw for a long time, Marcel Smith, Pastor Marcel Smith, was previously over the jail ministry at his church. So, Mount Olive Missionary Baptist Church. And I am sure for sure that there are other ministries, throughout this city. We have a lot of chaplains in Saginaw from Forgotten Man Ministries. We have a lot of people who are affiliated with Gideon International Ministry. They also go into the prison. So yes, Saginaw is most definitely represented.
We also want to give a prayer shout out to the Pryor family.
Absolutely. Yes. So unfortunately, this week, missionary Vonda Pryor Massey transitioned, went home to be with the Lord on Monday. And so we are praying for Pastor Chris, Lady Kenyatta, Evangelist Ruth C. Pryor, for sure, the entire Pryor family, her husband, Elder John Massey, as they prepare to lay her to rest this Friday.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for that. So do you have different subject topics that they're going to present or they're going to facilitate or moderate?
Yeah, so in terms of topics, each organization that's participating, they're going to share what their organization's mission is
I see.
and what their current initiatives are. So the goal of the summit is to provide as much information as possible within these 6 hours. And so you're going to hear about all kinds of initiatives. Perhaps wrongful conviction isn't your cause or your charge, but you may want to pay attention to what Families Against Mandatory Minimums has to say. Maybe that's more so, your thing, or you want to listen to Safe and Just Michigan, sharing about some policy things that are going on and how you can vote and, legislation and what you need to know about that. The Equal Justice Initiative, there are wonderful things that they're doing, again, promoting innocence. So all of these different organizations have different causes, different agendas. And so they're going to have, a certain amount of time on the platform to be able to push their agenda, share what they're doing, give that call to action. And it's kind of like a buffet, if you will, of criminal justice reform. And you can choose whatever it is that really touches your heart.
Tell us where and what time that they can go on Facebook and find the program.
Absolutely. So the summit is from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. on Saturday, October 23rd. We want you to log in at 8:45 a.m. though, because we do have a pre-show. A Saginaw native who now resides in Louisville, Texas. Her name is Madison P. Bryant. Madison is 12 years old. She's an author and a Saginaw native. Phenomenal young lady. She does Monday mornings with Maddie B. She's super inspirational. She's going to kick us off with an inspirational message and poem as part of the pre-show. So that's going to be fun. And then at 9 a.m., we're going to go right in, get started. In fact, our innocence panel with our exonerees is the first thing up that morning. So you want to log in on time.
Yes. Now, can someone log in after or during the presentation?
Absolutely. So you can log in. Again, it's from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. So you can log in throughout the day if you want to see the full schedule so that you'll know who's coming up at what time. Encourage you to log on to alifeforalife.org, and the full event schedule is there. And so you can see, who's talking during what time during the day, and you can choose those slots to tune in for.
Tell us about some of the presenters.
Absolutely. So I talked about the prison reform, prison fellowship. But we also have Justice Warriors Academy out of California. We have the Equal Justice Initiative, Safe and Just Michigan, Families Against Mandatory Minimums. We also have the Wayne County Conviction Integrity Unit, which is phenomenal. We're so glad that they're on board. Valerie Newman will be on to be able to share, and Kenneth will probably talk about that, but she's one of the reasons why he's out. And so there are a ton of men and women who have sent in applications to the newly developed Wayne County Conviction Integrity Unit. I believe like 1,700 applications have come in the 4 years that they've been in existence. And so there are a lot of people seeking to be exonerated. Michigan is actually in the top 5 for states with wrongful convictions. And a lot of people don't know that, but we are in the top 5. A lot of people in Michigan have been wrongly incarcerated. And so Valerie Newman from the Wayne County Conviction Integrity Unit will be here to share that. We have an interdenominational panel of clergy from across the United States that are going to come together and talk about the responsibility we have as the church for responding to these needs. And then, of course, we have our exonerees that are going to be on sharing their stories. It's going to be a great event.
Yes. I'm looking forward to that. I'm going to try to get in so I can see part of it.
Okay.
But do you have a lot of contact with the Michigan legislature about your program and what you're trying to do? What has been the response for those legislators?
Yeah, so we definitely, send out the information to legislators. We try to connect and share what it is that we're doing. We usually get, thank you for the information. Thank you for your work. Anybody who's obviously in this field, that you have to continue to push and lobby for what it is that you're trying to get them to pay attention to. So, we're just sounding the alarm. We'll continue to do so. We do have legislators that have listened for sure to the work that we're doing. And we're continuing to work with them, hoping that they will come alongside us more and be able to help assist us with, moving this agenda forward.
How easy is it for you to get or share your story with someone as a person who is trying to help others now?
I think at first it was extremely difficult,
Mm-hmm.
but I've kind of gotten used to it a little bit. I don't think you could ever get
February.
February.
February to now is a short time.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think you could ever get used to that level of pain, that level of hurt. But I've gotten to a place where I'm comfortable enough that I know that telling my story helps the next person.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm at a place where it's necessary for me to overcome and confront that fear of my history. And that's exactly what it is. It's behind me. It's history now. But I knew it was necessary to sort of challenge that fear in order to be a help. I needed to be the change. And, it's not always easy, but I've come to a place where I'm okay with it.
You have your parents, are they still living?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
How have they helped you to mainstream back in? And what will you be doing at the summit?
I still have a very, very strong support group around me. Friends, family, loved ones, I've had a very strong support group, even from the day that I was arrested. That made me an anomaly, inside. Everybody doesn't have that level of support that I was able to have and maintain, throughout those years. And they've been very instrumental in my reintegration because they took a lot of the pressure off. It wasn't like I had to do things. They didn't force me or make me, or I didn't have to do anything out of desperation, or my situation wasn't me bouncing from couch to couch. I had a few options on places to go, so it lightened the pressure on me a lot. So they've been very instrumental in helping me reintegrate back into society.
Were you working when you were arrested?
Yes, I had just recently started my own towing company, Nixon Hewitt Towing, with a friend of mine who is now deceased. He passed while I was inside.
Okay, I have my next guest is coming in, Ralph Martin. He is a fire marshal now for the state of Michigan, and I am going to let him in. Okay, so I'd like you to, although we are on a live program, I need to go let him in, and I'd like you to keep talking about your experience till I get back.
Okay. Since being home, I myself, and along with a group of other exonerees, we've begun advocating on behalf of other wrongfully convicted throughout the country. We recently traveled, or have been traveling for the past several months, back and forth to Missouri. There are two very high profile cases going on out in Missouri where the local prosecutor has gone public and stated that these guys are innocent and that, they made a mistake. Their office made a mistake. However, it is the attorney general fighting these two innocent people on procedural grounds. He's arguing that they missed their deadline to prove their innocence. So, to make that relatable to anybody that doesn't understand that language, the attorney general of Missouri is telling these guys, you have to die in prison because you missed a deadline to prove your innocence. That's essentially his argument. And, it's, mind you, this argument has been extremely unsuccessful in prior cases, but it's the point that, why is this even an argument? Why are we still talking about innocence and guilt in 2021? This is an argument that is decades old, and his response is, you missed your deadline.
When did you start your work on, or when did your attorneys start your paperwork to get you exonerated? How did you get into that project?
We'd been fighting since the day that I was found guilty.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the fighting never stopped.
Mm-hmm.
We went through several attorneys. We went through several private investigators. We eventually caught a break around 2015, 2016. Some laws changed. And shortly after that, a journalism school, Medill Justice Project from Illinois, took on my case as a class project. And in their investigation, they discovered some memorandums, one from the police and one from the prosecutor, that pretty much outlined my innocence to begin with. And they knew about it. The police memorandum was from 3 days after I was arrested, and the prosecutor's memo was from a month prior to my trial starting. So there's no question about whether or not they knew I was innocent. They absolutely knew, and we can prove they knew. We were able, once Medill Justice Project completed their investigation, I was front page news on the Detroit Free Press, and that sparked the interest of several innocence projects throughout the country. One of them took on my case. They independently verified the information that the journalism students discovered, and they took me to Valerie Newman, who did her own investigation, verified the facts, and I was eventually exonerated. So the process itself took about 4 to 5 years once we had the information in our possession.
Why does it take so long?
It does take a long time. And that's one of the questions, which is why we're happy that Valerie Newman is actually going to be on with the summit so she can share that process. He mentioned the independent investigation that they do. They go back as if the crime had just happened, and, investigate everything. And that does take time. And again, they're working through 1,700 applications. So, a lot, and they're working with very limited resources. And that's also what we're trying to bring attention to. This is such a major issue. When you have a state that ranks in the top 5, why are we not allocating more dollars to get more people to fix what we messed up?
Can I make a point to kind of piggyback off of what the resources, right? From the day that I was arrested to the day that I was convicted, it took me 5 months. It took me 4 years of investigation to prove my innocence. And mainly it was based off of resources. They didn't have the resources necessary to expedite the investigation of my innocence. And again, I'm on the short end of it. We've got guys that took years of investigation in order to prove that level of innocence that was enough to exonerate them. And it's all comes back to resources. That 1,700 applications that they're sitting on, it's not by choice. They just don't have the manpower or the resources necessary to complete that process.
So it's all about manpower and the dollars behind that.
Absolutely.
Well, I hope they make a flow chart.
That's
step by
something.
step, so you can get it done faster if there are monies made available to do this, because it just doesn't make any sense.
That's something that our organization has been very, very active in. We've spoken to commissions, all across the country on behalf of prosecutors' offices, on behalf of the people that are doing the work. They need more money. And who better to tell that story than people like us that have been in that position? So the commissions that are holding on to that dollar, I think they forget that there's a human life attached to that dollar. They completely forget that somebody could potentially, you don't know what type of situation that prisoner's in. He could be dying. He can be in some sort of severe terminal illness that you just don't know about. But you're declining the option to help that person by saying no to allocating the appropriate amount of money to have that unit funded and run the way that it's supposed to.
Advocacy. Yes. We need more of it. More of it. My guest this afternoon, Reverend Erina McKissick. I'm sorry. She is the founder of A Life for a Life Urban Initiative, and also Kenneth Nixon. I'm sorry, I covered up my notes. They have been my guests talking about the Innocence Summit that's taking place on Saturday, October the 23rd from 9 to 3 p.m. on Facebook Live. Yes. You want them to get on early.
15 minutes early, 8:45.
15 minutes early. Okay, because they have a very special guest who's going to light them up a little bit.
Absolutely.
Okay. thank you for being here and sharing your story.
Absolutely.
I'm going to make sure that I find some time to see this. You shared a lot of information, but it's heartbreaking for me. You know, I could not be that calm. Calm, collected, you know. Oh my goodness. I'm so happy that you're home.
Thank you.
Believe
me, I'm happy to be home.
Yeah, I know you are. And your family, your mom, and everyone. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Reverend McKiss, thank you so much.
Thank you
for being here.
Me. Absolutely.
And I wish you very much success on this particular project. I look forward to next year.
Okay.
I think that I will ask you for a report back.
Okay. Sure.
I want the community report back on this particular event.
Okay.
So look for a call.
Yes, I look forward to it.
Thank you so very much for being here.
Me.
Thank you. Thank you. And you come back too.
Oh, absolutely.
All
Anytime.
Right.
Anytime.
If there's information to share about this project, you call me. Call her. And get in touch with me. Yes. This is Community Connections, community talk for community people, and we are community.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My next guest is the fire marshal. He told me he is the man still, even though he's often with the state. Ralph Martin. How are you, sir? Come on in here. Oh my goodness, fire marshal inspector.
Yes, I'm doing just well. How are you?
I am doing well. I see you have on your Saginaw African Cultural Festival shirt and hat. Everything is going well. I know you're fresh from a meeting. We want to talk about Fire Prevention Week.
Yes.
We're celebrating this. We're giving information out all month long. Okay?
Absolutely, yes.
This year, you are talking about the carbon monoxide and the smoke alarms and the chirp.
And the beep.
Yes.
There's a big difference. We just want to make sure that each and every one of your listeners are aware of the differences. If you hear your alarm or your unit chirping, that's indicating that the battery or the unit itself is actually either defective or you need a new battery. When it beeps, that indicates that it's indicating that there is smoke and maybe time to evacuate the premises.
So if there's smoke or if there is carbon monoxide, let's say that goes off, okay? Right. Is that a siren? Is it a chirp, or what does that sound?
Well, it's not whether or not it's smoke or carbon monoxide that determines the beep or chirp. If you have a carbon monoxide detector, it's going to beep.
It's going to beep.
Right. It's not a difference. The difference isn't determined by whether it's a carbon monoxide or a smoke detector unit or a carbon monoxide detector unit. Both units chirp and beep. But when the battery is low, that means it start a little chirp,
right.
That annoying little chirp that I always hear. I've heard it so many times, Joyce. Just sometimes I'm doing so many Zooms and so many virtual meetings, and there might be 5 or 6 people or maybe more. And in one of those homes, I can hear that chirping sounding in their background. I'm like, somebody need to change their battery. But a lot of times you can get complacent and get used to it and get immune to the chirp and get used to it, and you don't even hear it anymore. So a lot of residents, actually, that occurs. But when it beeps, it's usually a steady, long, and a louder audible when the beeping sounds. That means it's maybe time to look for that exit or see if there's an issue going on in the house. Now with carbon monoxide, it's the silent killer,
right?
And you can't smell it,
right?
And so you don't really know if your carbon monoxide detector is activating. Call 911.
Okay.
No matter what.
If it just beeps or chirps one time,
that's your battery.
That's the battery.
Usually, yes.
Okay. I know what the chirping sound is, but I heard a noise coming from my monoxide unit. Okay. But it only did it one time and it went off.
Sometimes that's indicating that the battery is starting to get low And there's sometimes in my experience that has been an indicator that you may need to get the extension on your vacuum sweeper and get the dust out of that unit.
Okay.
Sometimes that could cause that to do that, make that that once in a while chirp sound.
I was getting ready to go to bed. I just opened up all the doors and windows.
That's good. That's good. That's good.
Because I didn't know, but it has not sounded since then. This was just last night. I was like, what am I to do?
And it does that. And sometimes, how long have you had that unit? You probably forgot when it was installed. Was it one that I installed one day, like 10 years ago? Because if it's 7 to 10 years, there should be.
It hasn't been 10 years.
Okay.
You know what? It's on the back of it.
Yeah, read that. Read the marker. And 7 to 10 years, they start making those little chirp sounds, letting you know it's getting close. So that's could be an indicator that it's time to take a look at your date.
Okay, all right.
They only last 7 to 8 years, and you want to replace them.
I've only been in that house for 3 years.
Okay,
I think, but the fire department came and put it up.
Right, I remember.
Yeah,
you told me you came over.
So this year's program, but this year's theme is
know the difference between the chirp and the beep. I'm probably not saying exactly how it's because I'm not doing this with the state. I'm not as into the fire safety education. I'm just basically doing inspections of state facilities, but it's basically know the difference between the chirp and the beep. Know that there's a difference there. A lot of people get that confused.
So do you have a bigger firehouse?
Do we have a bigger one?
Oh, no. Firehouse?
And I really missed that part of. Yes. I really missed that part of being the city of Saginaw fire marshal. Part of your responsibility is to go around do the fire education with not just the youth but everyone, from youth to senior citizens. I would go to the senior citizens high rises and the senior citizens day what is that right there across from Zion? Right there on 2nd and Johnson. That would be one of I would go there all the time to talk to the seniors that cause those.
Marie
Davis.
Right.
I couldn't think of that. They were regular for me. I would speak to those attendees about fire safety because and I don't get to do that as much, and I really miss that with the state. It's more just basically doing inspections, fire safety inspections.
Well, let me ask you a couple of questions now because these questions came from the community.
Absolutely.
During fireworks time, anytime that they're doing celebrations and they're available, families have so many locations where they can buy fireworks, right?
Right.
Can those fireworks be bombs or whatever goes up in the air and makes all of the fireworks go off? When those things are coming back down onto the roof of a house, can it cause a fire?
It has been known to cause fire, especially if it's been a dry season. There has been times when just as they have indicators, a state mandate not to burn outside fires or campfires. Right. They also include fireworks because of a lack of rain and droughts. So yes,
so
to answer your question.
In your yard in a dry.
Absolutely, because you never know. It's like a pop bottle rocket. It may not actually go all the way up. It may determine itself to go horizontal instead of vertical and land right on top of something that's combustible and get a fire started. We have had quite a few fires start as a result of 4th of July activity.
Really?
Oh yes.
Okay, one of my seniors said that she can hear these things coming down on her roof after it goes up.
Especially those really large fires, because it's the fallout area is usually about 100 feet around, in circumference and diameter under the area of which it exploded. So, and it depends on the wind. So yes, usually those embers are out, but there's also a possibility that it could be on, especially if it lands on something that's flammable. Then you got a really strong issue there.
So is there any kind of way to protect your roof from catching a fire due to any of these materials that come down?
Only way I could
Is
suggest,
there any roofing or
probably, I can't think of anything unless you have a metal. I mean, people do have metal roofs, but instead of going that far, I would think if you knew that someone was going to be out engaging in fireworks in that kind of manner and that in that capacity, I would make sure that you maybe go out and get your water hose and just spray your roof, spray your whole area down with your water hose earlier that day, and maybe keep going. Matter of fact, on the grounds of Ojibwe Island, that's a requirement. When I used to go out there last 15, 16 years as a fire marshal, we would bring a fire rig to Ojibwe Island in the area where the fireworks were ignited. We would water that down thoroughly, wet. So, of course, if we do that there, I would definitely suggest, if you knew someone was going to do that in their driveways or their backyards, they may want to make sure they have a charged water hose available.
Well, it seems like in every neighborhood, because, like I said, there's a place to buy fireworks all over.
Well, they become legal. They're legal now in Michigan. So which we're not advocate really support that, but they thought they were going to make a lot of money, but I don't think it came out. It happened like they were hoping it would. As far as people buying, certifying and buying the permits, it's not happening.
I hope my very special senior citizen is listening to this, because she was very adamant about those, whatever comes on her roof, and she lives in an area that's pretty quiet, but people will come over into your neighborhood and set off these fireworks.
And she can always dial 911. You still cannot be a nuisance to all of your neighbors. That's part of this. If she's living in the city ordinance states if it's a nuisance to you, you can call 911 and the police can come out and ask them to refrain from using the fireworks.
They scatter when you do that.
Of course.
Some people will have the thought that all of the streets belong to them, so they can set the fireworks off anywhere.
Yeah, and they don't pick up behind them.
Yeah,
we see that a lot. Especially around the 4th. Yeah.
I was amazed at all the debris that's left out, and people they don't even pile it up. It's just sitting there.
I'm just amazed of the attraction it has, because I know it can cause hearing disorders. Yeah, if you have pets, if you're a pet lover, your animal goes crazy. And it's really almost like cruelty to animals. And I've even seen residents who have pets and they're lighting fireworks, and it's just I just don't get it.
We only have a few minutes. I want you to tell us some tips.
Okay, well, it's almost getting cold.
Yes.
I would definitely, you're getting ready to turn that furnace on. Make sure you get those furnaces checked out. If you hadn't in a while, make sure you have new. Make sure you get new filters in your furnaces.
Have it checked out.
Before you get going. If you're going to be using space heaters, make sure they are UL listed and are not something that you just bought from some company that's not familiar. Never use electrical cords with your space heaters, because they're not built for that, to take that kind of energy. Make sure that you have your smoke alarms working and your carbon monoxide detectors working.
Ralph, this was a short.
That's all right.
Segment, but I'm so glad that you came in.
I am too.
I'm putting together another show that's going to include you and a landscaper and a roofing concern business to talk about all of this.
Okay.
Because I think it's very important. We don't want to have any more fires.
We don't want to have any more fires. Thanks, Joyce.
Thank you very much. And I want to say thank you to you and my guest, Reverend McKissick, and also the young man from the Kenneth Dixon. He's the president of the Exonerees, a national organization of exonerees. They did a good job today. Excellent program. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for being a great guest on Community Connections. And I will talk to you next week.